Bob, when you talk about stocks, you're not talking about General Motors or AT&T or those kinds of stocks. You're talking about metal stocks. Is that correct?
Yeah, just gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
There has been time to time over the past almost 23 years now, that we have recommended stocks in the regular markets. We have 3 oil stocks outstanding. They went from about $15 to $100, but the problem with oil stocks is and gas as well. When the market goes down, they go with it, and that's the downside to being in oil and gas stocks. And I know that's disappointing, but that's the way it works.
I've been following your stock recommendations for several years, and you are right almost all the time.
Well, we had a spate, and it lasted for about 3 to 4 years, and we had a number of short positions, which is not suitable for everybody. And that means you're going to bet a stock's going to go down. And just to give you an example, we had about 5 housing stocks that we shorted in '05. And one of them went from $80 to $15, and so on and so forth. And then, about 8 years ago, I wrote about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I said, everybody in the Beltway knows they're bankrupt. The government's going to take them over, and the government wants to nationalize housing eventually. Well, we put shorts on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac at $68 a share. And we covered the position, took our profit, and got out at $1.
I remember reading those recommendations. I remember you recommending shorting the housing, the building stocks. I believe even Home Depot was in there. That's
right. That's still one of the open positions. It did okay, but about 50%. But this business that's going on with quantitative easing and stimulus kind of delayed everything for the last 2 or 3 years. But they can't keep on doing it indefinitely because they're destroying the value of the dollar versus other currencies, and especially versus gold and silver.
Hey, Bob, let's talk about QE3 in a minute after this brief break. This is Mark Wright. I'm here with Vincent Finelli, and we're on USA Prepares on KWTO 560 AM. We're with world-renowned economist Bob Chapman. We'll be back in just a minute.
2011 was a great year at your Chevy dealers of the Ozarks. And now during their model year wrap-up, save big on the full line of Chevys. Like the most dependable, longest-lasting truck on the road, the 2011 Chevy Silverado All-Star Edition. Now with a total value of $6,000. Or the Chevy Malibu, a Consumer's Digest Best Buy. Now with $2,500 cash back. Don't miss the model year wrap-up at your Chevy dealers of the Ozarks. Not available with some other offers. Excludes leases. See dealer for details. Take delivery by 9/6/11.
When I'm in Branson, I pick up a copy of the Branson Daily Independent. It's the best read paper in Branson, with local, state, and Branson entertainment news, plus the classifieds. And business owners, advertising in the Branson Daily Independent gets results. To advertise, call 417-334-2285. That's 417-334-2285. The Branson Daily Independent. It's the best read paper in Branson, and it's free at over 300 area locations.
Tonight at 9 on the #1 network on Color 10. Real-life crime stories, a 48 Hours mystery. Then at 9:59, there's no waiting for the weather during your forecast first with Color 10 meteorologist Ted Keller. Followed immediately by Color 10 News at 10 with David Oliver and Sonia Coleman. More and more people are watching, talking, and finding the new leader in news at 10. Count on Color 10's primetime lineup tonight. A 48 Hours mystery at 9. Forecast first at 9:59 and Color 10 News at 10.
There's something happening.
This can be sliding.
What are today's hot?
Oh, God, you're...
Take my... When you go to DC's... For 2 seconds during the...
Class is back in session. Turn up the volume. USAPrepares.com with the original survival economist, Vincent Finelli and Mark Wright.
And this is USA Prepares On KWTO 560 AM, the talk of the Ozarks, I am Mark Wright. You know, and there's no duplicates here today, Vinny. You're genuine, you're authentic, you're the original survival economist, and I'm so glad to be back here with you. You know, Vinny, had an interesting thing develop since last Tuesday, and we got Bob Chapman on the line. Bob, I want you to hear this. After the show last Tuesday, Vinny and I went on a diatribe when our illustrious President Obama threatened to withhold Social Security checks and veteran disability checks and various other types of checks, and if he didn't get the debt ceiling raised. And I said it, if he follows through on that threat, Bob, I think Congress ought to seriously consider on August 4th to file impeachment articles in the House and convict him in the Senate and seriously consider removing him as President of the United States. Well, I uploaded that on our YouTube, USA Prepares YouTube channel last Tuesday. Newsmax picked it up on Thursday, Bob, and email blasted it all around the United States, and my YouTube channel blew up. Well, guess what Google did, which owns YouTube? They suppressed my video. They shut my video down. They tried to keep that thing from going viral. They are suppressing criticism of President Barack Hussein Obama. And it's a sophisticated form of censorship is what it is, Bob. And they're doing that just to two guys here in the Midwest. You've experienced that. What do you think about that?
Well, it reminds me of what Joseph Goebbels used to do during the 1930s and 40s. He would censor everything that was not favorable to Adolf Hitler and the Reich, so to speak. And so propaganda really started to come into its own during the 20s and 30s, and that's what Madison Ave was all about, and still is today. And we see all kinds of propaganda. I watched the hearings on Murdock today, and already it's a whitewash. A whitewash. And the man who blew the whistle on the whole thing is dead.
Yeah, you think that...
And they don't know how he died.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You know it and I know it. Well, you know, I suspected 6 months ago, I don't know if you remember the story, but Obama went out to California and met with the head of Google. And I was wondering what that was all about. Now I figured it out. They made a pact with Obama for whatever reason. I don't know what they're getting out of it. But if they suppress criticism on their YouTube website of Obama, they're getting something out of it, and they're doing it. They've done it to me. And Murdock, do you think they're putting a little pressure on him because he owns Fox News and all these other conservative establishments that are criticizing Obama? Do you think they're putting the hammer down on him as a result of that as well?
No.
Okay.
I think they got caught with their pants down, and I think the Mossad and MI5 are deeply involved, and as are the police. And I think that there's lots more to that story than we'll ever see. It really, really, really basic problems. And nothing's going to happen to Murdoch or Fox. He might have to do a few things, but that's about it. What they do immediately is anybody who's complaining, they pay them off. I mean, the parents of the girl that died, and, you know, just shut everybody up. And then he had somebody come in and whack this guy, so he can't say anything anymore.
Hmm.
Isn't that what
that's the way the world works today.
This is conspiracy. This is not a conspiracy, though. I mean, they're doing it right out in the open, Bob.
They don't care. They've always done that, but they've always had somebody to cover for them. Like the police say, well, we don't know how he died. I give you a break. I mean, they've seen thousands of bodies. I mean, you roll the guy over and there's a hole in the back of his head. Somebody whacked him.
And they said they don't suspect suspicious activity, and the guy's head is almost blown off.
How can you not be suspicious? What an idiotic statement. It shows you how stupid most of them are. Because, you know, when people use words to describe things, written or verbal, you can read into what they're saying everything subliminally subliminally that they are saying. And I do that all the time, especially in speeches and stuff like that. I said, well, I know what this guy's up to. He's up to this, that, and the other thing. And it's not hard to figure out, but you got to work at it. And it took me years and years to be able to scope in on these lies, misdirection, and propaganda.
Bob, you're talking about lies, misdirection, and propaganda. How about all the times that we hear on the news and we see these bald-headed shills and they talk about HSBC, but they don't say what H and S and B and C stand for? Why don't we tell our class? Hong Kong
Shanghai Banking Corporation.
Yes, it's a foreign corporation.
And it was funded by the Queen of England via Jardine Matheson, but which most of you know nothing about. And that was 200 years ago. And they wrapped it up into HSBC. And it's been around for a long time. It's controlled by the Queen of England.
Yeah. So, class, if you're thinking that HSBC is just some New York bank, no, it is not. Wow.
The Worldwide Bank, one of the biggest banks in the world, is part of the Alpha Group, which is run by the black nobility of Europe.
Back in the mid-'80s, I worked for a division of HSBC, and that's how come I know about Hong Kong Shanghai Bank Corporation. And back then, it was the 11th largest banking institution in the world. It's probably much bigger than that now.
Well, I'll tell you, they make an awful lot of bad decisions. And that's in recent years. Years ago, they did better. And they're not only a bank, they're paymasters for intelligence organizations. They carry information. You know, I was in counterintelligence. I know what these people do.
John Statmiller said, someday we ought to talk about what you used to do in counterintelligence, but he said you may not be willing to discuss that. Is that something that we can talk about sometime? Or
no, it's nothing. You know, you get trained in the craft, and you pick a certain area that you think you'd like to be in, and then if they think you qualify that's where you go. Sometimes it's a meteor analysis. Sometimes it's traffic analysis. Sometimes cryptography. In the old days, they used to have the intercept of messages through the airways, such as radio printer, directional finding, and the intercept of Morse code, which is still used extensively.
Hey, Bob, we're not going to be able to open up this can of worms right now. We ran out of time. I apologize. Thank you for joining us today. And I think we'll pick right up there next Tuesday. I think our audience would be interested in learning more about that. Bob, thank you for joining us today.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Bob. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. Vinny, who do we got on the show tomorrow?
Oh, boy. We're going to be learning about gardening tomorrow, and then we're going to be talking about medicine, and then we've got a special guest on Friday. And let me tell you about next week also. Next week is we have a nuclear scientist. I'm not going to say it the way President George Bush said it, nuclear. I'm going to say it the correct way, nuclear. We have a nuclear scientist coming on, one of the foremost experts in a very specific area.
Awesome. Well, hey, great program today. We'll see you all tomorrow, 3 o'clock on USA Prepares.
Vincent, Mark, thank you. Although classroom activities are completed for today, we are not finished. Study what you have learned and share it with your friends and family. Your homework is to visit usaprepares.com. Remember, class meets daily at 3 p.m. sharp on KWTO 560 AM. No notes from your mama, no excuses. What happens next is up to you.